Hello, today is March 14th. Yesterday, President Trump issued a state of emergency for the vulnerable to help keep them safe, and also where funds can be issued to help families who are not able to take off work. I thought about it as a person who is 60 years old. I'm one of those vulnerable people, so I'm social distancing myself, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to do what I planned on doing in 2 years, to teach parents what they can do to help their children become successful. I raised my two daughters by myself, and there were times when I really struggled. At one point, I was on assistance for a few months, and then I was able to work my way out of poverty. I've been with Columbus City Schools 28 years, and in 2 years I will retire. I may wait a little longer, but in 2 years I can retire. At 60. In 30 years you can retire. I'm 60 now, but I have 28 years in, so I will be able to retire very soon. And I planned on going out in the community and doing some things for free, because I'll be getting my retirement for free, to help parents who don't know what they need to do to help their children become successful. So I said that's what I would do. And actually, from 2008 to around 2012, I had an after-school program called Tuesday Read Twos, where I worked with children at an elementary school, third grade. Then it was third and fourth. Then I did third through fifth, and then I did a young girls program called Girls of Distinction at a school. And we did field trips. I had the after school reading program that I did. I had a summer reading program. I actually won an award from the Ohio Department of Education for my program. But with the reading program, it was called Tuesday Read Twos. We read books. I gave them words of the week. And then I also did a student workshop and a parent workshop. And during the parent workshop, I distributed this little booklet that I created, a little guide called If You're on Track, They're on Track: Tips, Suggestions, and Tools for Effective Parent Advocacy. I wrote this guide because I thought I would give parents an idea of what they can do to help their children become successful. Now, I'm not an expert, to say the least. However, I do know what I did was helpful. I tried my best to make sure that my children, if I didn't know what to do, or if I didn't have the answer to something, I would go out and seek that advice. And back then, we didn't have social media and those things, but I was an inquisitive person, and I did ask questions. And I always let teachers know that I was an advocate for teachers, but I also was an advocate for my children, and that I wanted my children to be successful. So I would do everything in my power to help them. And I would just ask that the teachers helped me out. So I started out working for Columbus City Schools, and it was really hard when I first started out, because I didn't know during the winter on my first pay that I was going to get a half a paycheck. So it was some hard times. I remember some times when I would find $5 and think that was $100, because we were really struggling. But I pinched my little pennies, and we made it. I made sure my children were involved in programs. Brittany, she was a Young Scholar, so she went through the Young Scholars program, and every Saturday she was involved. And then all the way through, she ended up getting great grades, and she applied for 3 colleges and got into all those colleges, ended up graduating from Harvard and then getting her master's from NYU. She lives in New York doing her own thing. She's been living in New York ever since she graduated from Harvard, but she's doing fine, and I'm very, very, very proud of her. Then Whitney, my youngest, she volunteered, did a lot of volunteering. I made sure she was involved in City Year, and she was in another program through First Link for teen volunteers. And I just made sure she was never idle. She had no idle time. She always did something to help out. And I remember asking her, Whitney, can you get A's? And she told me, you know what, Mom, B's are good. And you know what, B's are good. So I was fine with that. Whitney did okay. She did great. Went on to Otterbein University. Now she got her degree of science, and she's a laboratory scientist and married her husband, Mike, who is an engineer. They're doing well. I am so very proud of my children, and I want you to know that you can do the same thing with your children, what you need to do, because we now are in an age of social media. If your child has any type of device, make sure that you put on parent controls. You should not give your child a laptop or any type of a device where they can get the internet and just be on there, and you're not there. You don't know what your child is doing. You need to monitor your child. If your child wants to go to the mall, I remember when Whitney was younger, she asked me, could she go to the mall? And I said, yes, you can go to the mall, to the movies with your friends. But you know what? I sat a couple rows back from Whitney because I was not going to let my child just be willy-nilly roaming around the mall, not knowing what she was doing. And you really need to know who your children are hanging out with. You need to get to know those parents. You need to know what friends your child has. Do they do their homework? You might not know what they do, but are they getting good grades? When you go to the honor roll breakfast, are those children there? Are they getting awards? Or are they sitting out in the audience? And that's not to say that your child has to be a straight A student or on honor roll, but just make sure that your child is doing their very best. And if your child is struggling, make sure you try to go out and get some help for your child. Don't sit there and expect the school to do all the work. You as a parent need to do your homework. You have to do some things too. You need to make sure you're doing things so your child can be successful. If your child is not academically successful, then you need to try to make sure that you're working to help your child try to figure out what your child is good at. If your child likes to cook, maybe your child is going to be a culinary expert. So you might want your child to go do something that's dealing with the career centers. Maybe your child likes to build things. So your child might want to work in construction, or your child might want to be an engineer. I remember they had a program through the Boy Scout, the Simon Kenton Council. I think it was up at Dublin Granville Road, where your child could explore a lot of different programs. It was an exploring program. So your child might want to be a veterinarian, or your child might want to do something with aviation. They had all types of programs where kids could go and learn. And your child might not necessarily want to be whatever they thought they wanted to be. Whitney at one point thought she wanted to be a veterinarian, and then she went there, and I think she thought it was kind of boring. They might think they want to be a dentist. You never know, and you don't want them to end up going to college and hate what they do, or that you spend a whole lot of money and get all these student loans, and then your child decides, no, I don't even want to do that. So it would behoove you. It would be the best thing for you to do. And here's what I think: you just need to go out and let your child volunteer. Look into these different activities. If they have a day where children can go and just be there just to observe, well, then see if your child is able to do that. And then maybe your child will decide, okay, this is not something I want to do, and you can go on and do something else. But it's really good to keep your child active, and keep your child involved. Make sure you know exactly what your child is doing at all times. It is imperative that you know what your child is doing. You cannot let your child just go out. In this day and age, I'm sorry, you don't need to let your child just be out roaming around. You don't know who your child is with. It's just a time where you need to be actively involved with your child. You need to know where your child is. And yes, your child can participate in things, but make sure that who your child's participating with is a group that you feel comfortable with. And you could also do some things where your child comes to your place. But just make sure, like I said, be involved with your children. Go to all the parent-teacher conferences. Don't say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're not helping my child. You need to make sure that you're trying to help your child too. They have something called Khan Academy on the internet. You can go there. There are free things that you can get online to help your child. But you have to be actively involved. Now, I know that there are a lot of grandparents raising their children, but there are also all sorts of activist programs where they have put together things for children. I know that the Urban League, they have programs for children. There's just different places that have programs for children, programming to help your child become successful. You just have to be proactive. You need to go out there, look, check, and see what it is that you can do to help your child become successful. Don't wait till the last minute. I know that you could check with the schools. There's a lot of programming that is offered, or they give the information to the schools, or they might not be at the school. They just might not be in the community, but you can just check. You can call Central Helping Hands of Central Ohio. I know that they probably have a lot of different programs, or they know about a lot of different programs that are youth related that can help you, help you and your child to become successful. These are things that you need to do. So what I ask you to do is just become involved. That's the main thing. Become involved with your child. Now, I know with my children, I made sure, especially when I knew Brittany wanted to go to college, I started keeping a little booklet. I created a little booklet, and I started keeping papers. I had a drawer full of every little paper, every little award she received. And when it was time for her to go to college, I put together a big booklet of things that she was involved with. And then I put tabs on it, and all her awards and everything were put into this booklet, and I sent one to each one of the colleges that she applied to, with all her awards, all the different things that she was involved in. And you know what? I think that was a factor, but she was also really good at speaking, so that was a plus as well. Whitney, I did the same thing with her. She was so gung-ho about her volunteering. She did such a great job. She's such a compassionate person. And what she did was helpful in getting her into Otterbein. No, she didn't have straight A's, but she did get into Otterbein because they're really big on volunteering. And you know what? She got there. Her first year, I don't think she had decided what she wanted to do, but then she really got interested in science, and I'm so glad, and I'm very thankful for her professor. She ended up doing a special trip, and she went with the professor to Panama, and so they were in the rainforest. Now she's like I said again, she's a scientist, and she's doing well. So you never know what your child wants to do, but you also want to be involved, and you want to just make your child think about things that they want to do. And it's not make your child, but help your child think about the things that they want to do. And you know, they may fail at one thing, and they may be successful at many things, but it's always good to have a backup plan. And so that's what I'm imparting with you today. Just some little tidbits of information that you can use to help your child become successful. I created a lot of these little booklets, and it has some helpful information in it. I know some of the sites and stuff might be old on here, but there's a lot of different things in here that are helpful for parents. And like I say again, when I get ready to retire, I am going to create more of those and distribute those for parents. But I know that it's something that is useful. And it's some things that I did to help my child become successful, and I know it will be helpful for you. So I hope you have a good evening. Goodbye.